Hey folks, welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Evercoat Body Shop. You know, we give a lot of car advice on this show. Some of it is more professional than others. And if you want your auto body work to look professional, you should be using what the professionals use. Evercoat is the #1 brand preferred by professionals. Evercoat Body Shop products are easy to use whether you're an actual paid professional or an at-home DIYer. They have a variety of products, every one right for your project. It works great on steel, fiberglass, and all other substrates. There are just 3 easy steps. Prep the panel, fill, and sand. The Perfect Mix Guide makes it easy to get the right ratio of filler and cream hardener. It dries in about 15 minutes and sands up to 50% faster than the competition, giving you a flawless finish. Evercoat Body Shop takes all the guesswork out of bodywork. It's available at Advance Auto Parts stores, so ask for Evercoat Body Shop products at Advance Auto Parts by name. Also brought to you in part today by Masterworks. You've seen them on our videos. You know, my dream car is the McLaren F1. It is just the best at everything. But frankly, with the prices they are at, as much as it hurts to say it, owning a McLaren F1 is pretty much always going to be a dream for me. So it boggles the mind to think about the billionaires that have like 10 of them. No kidding. There was an exhibition in France, and someone owns 7 McLaren F1s and brought all of them out. It made me cry just a little bit. They're just sitting in a garage being used as a store of wealth and a potential investment because they're minting billionaires more often than ever, but these things stay super rare. It's the law of supply and demand. And while I'll probably never own a McLaren F1, I can get into something even more desirable, something that's more than doubled in value consistently for the last 25 years, because just like these cars, it's fueled by supply and demand and the dollars of the super rich. And now, for less than a tire on this car, you can be part of it too. You want to find out how to break in? We're talking about premium art collecting, folks, at masterworks.io. Use promo code TIRE to learn how Masterworks is changing the collecting and investing game, giving its 400,000 plus members unprecedented access and lowering costs to 1,000th of what billionaires are paying. Go to masterworks.io, use promo code TIRE. That ensures you priority access to their platform. See the important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.io/CD. So go to masterworks.io, promo code TIRE, getting you priority access. And check those regulations before investing. Oh man, it's Simply Safe. I am so glad I have Simply Safe right now. My wife and I are renovating a home, and right up the street from me, there is another home under renovation, and some construction materials were stolen from the home. And I am glad that I've got the Simply Safe setup on my new home, especially because no one is actually living there right now. I mean, we've got the home base station, we've got door sensors, we've got glass break sensors, we've got temperature sensors if there's a fire, we've got water sensors if there's a flood, we've got motion detectors all over the place, we've got crazy loud sirens, and the Simply Safe 24/7 professional monitoring center is there. Simply Safe gave me a whole story to read from someone named Terry, but I don't even have to. I set up the Simply Safe and all this thing in my house in 20 minutes. It was super easy. I didn't need to connect it to the monitoring system, but I did, and it was easy to set up. Everything works. It all goes over the Wi-Fi. You can move the sensors around as you need them. You can install cameras, which I've got. There's all these different modules, and you can customize to your home. You know, you can order the exact parts you need for the number of rooms, the number of doors, the number of windows, and the monitoring plans can cost under $1 a day with no long-term contracts or hidden fees ever. I've got the app on my phone. I can arm and disarm through the phone. There's also the keypad. It makes it, and there's even fobs, like keychain fobs, which I'm not using, but they are nice and slick. And so it's just, I feel better, especially because my house is under construction right now, having the Simply Safe there, knowing on the app I can see when the contractors arm and disarm the system. If they go in, when the alarm goes off, I get an alert on my phone so I know right away what's going on. It's great. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/tire. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. Go to simplysafe.com/tire. All right, it's Element, spelled LMNT, pronounced Element. Man, this stuff is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. It means lots of salt, electrolytes, and no sugar. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio with 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium with none of the junk. No sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Electrolyte deficiency or imbalances can cause headaches, cramps, fatigues, and weakness. And when you sweat, the primary electrolyte lost is sodium, and you can lose up to 7 grams per day. When sodium isn't replaced, it's common to experience cramps and fatigue. I have been taking Element before I work out, before my Pilates classes, and I have been feeling pretty good. No headaches. I mean, I'm tired because I'm working out, but it's not overtired and doesn't linger, right? It's good for recovery. Element is used by everyone from moms and dads to NBA, NFL, and NHL players, Olympic athletes, Navy SEALs, exercise enthusiasts, and chubby podcast hosts. I may have added that last part. Element is so pure, you'll love their product and come back for more. They're offering a free sample pack, 8 single serving packets for free. Just cover the cost of shipping, $5 for U.S. consumers. Get your drink on at drinklmnt.com/tire. This deal is not available on their regular website. You got to go to drinklmnt.com/tire. Try it risk-free. If you don't like it, share it with a salty friend. Get your money back. No questions asked. Nothing to lose at drinklmnt.com. drinklmnt.com/tire, folks. All right. On this show, I have the vid. I am stuck at home because I have the vid. Zach and I talk about my road trip in the Lucid, what it is like to road trip a very fast, very big battery, luxury EV, 800 miles to Phoenix and back. Talk about seeing Pearl Jam 3 times. Talk about what it's like to drive modified Model Ts. And, Zach drove a 10-second Audi RS3. We talk about how great 5 cylinders are. And we talk about a whole bunch of things you want us to talk about, particularly why racing is so damn expensive. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast Home Edition. Right then. Hello from home.
We're back in the prison glass.
God damn it. 25 months I made it. Did all the things they wanted. Wore the masks, got the boosters, got a booster last week. This shit is coming under the doors, people.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah. You made it a long time. I think for you to not get it in 2 years.
Made it a very long time. I did all the things they said to do. But this new shit apparently is, it's the most contagious right before you start having symptoms. And as soon as Hannah started coughing, I went to fucking, mask,
separate bedrooms. You know,
it was too late.
It was too fucking late. It was too late. I mean, it's a good thing that like I'm paranoid enough, you know, because I went to like concerts.
Yeah,
I went to and it's a good thing that like I would wear a mask in a stadium right now, even without that. Like even without that potential risk, I would still be wearing a mask at a concert right now. So lucky for everybody else at the fucking concert that I'm the kind of person who wears a mask at a concert right now.
Yeah, Sarah and I wore masks at the comedy show we went to because we knew we were negative and all that, but we were like, let's just protect us and other, I don't know, just whatever. So.
People are acting like there's not a wave right now, but in the last couple of weeks and up to now, I think more people that I know personally have this shit than had it at the beginning of January when everybody fucking seemed to have it. And they're acting like it's like not actually happening. Like in Phoenix, I went to Phoenix for Pearl Jam, and you know, I wore a mask in the car with Marco. I hope he doesn't get it. This is before I knew. I tested positive this morning, and I had 2 days where my wife tested positive, and I had pure anxiety just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right.
And I didn't feel anything until really the second half of the drive home. I got a little throat tickle, and I got a little headache, which both of which could easily be the result of going to 3 concerts 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
You know, but I still, because I was paranoid, wore a mask in the car with Marco, and I hope he doesn't get sick. He might. That would be a real testament to the use of masks if he could spend 6 hours in a car with me wearing one and not get sick.
Yeah.
But here we are at home. I had to cancel trip to Italy to drive the Pagani Huayra R for the cover of Road and Track.
Whoa, when was that? Was that next week?
Yeah, it was going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week.
Oh,
that sucks. Oh, dick.
It almost doesn't get worse than that.
It gets a lot worse than that.
For as far as job interaction, press launches being canceled for our job.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't get worse than that. For life, of course, it gets worse than that.
Yes, that's the privileged view if it doesn't get worse. But for our job, going to Italy to drive the Huayra R would be quite good. And now someone else is going to do it. And guess what? My editor, Mike Guy, who is very understanding and who I deeply respect as a human being and as a boss, comes back to me like 10 minutes later, and he's like, dude, I understand, you know, sucks. Don't worry about it. I'll get someone else. He texts me 10 minutes later. He goes, well, I was going to send Spinelli. And I was like, oh, cool. He goes, but he got COVID in Miami. F1 super spreader event, dude. I mean, so that's it. I'm at home for, how long were you at home for? 10 days almost, right? You were at home for a long fucking time.
I stayed home for 10 days because of
Sarah.
Because of Sarah, yeah. You know,
but
got sick 2 days later.
Yeah.
And I did, so we wanted to be extra safe. And basically I could extend it into the weekend, so I just did that.
Right. Well, I'm the second one on that math. So it's going to depend on me. Hannah will probably get, although I got the second booster last week, and I think that's why Hannah is sicker than me. She's got a fucking epic cough. It's really fucking brutal and painful. And I just have brain fog. And I probably don't sound very good, but I have kind of trouble keeping keeping thoughts straight, which is tough because I'm writing a 2,200 word piece on this Model Ts I did last week. So that's trying to write is a little bit of a challenge. And I actually think this podcast is going to be very, very hard. I think
it was hard for me to look at a computer for 4 or 5 days, like looking at text, not even writing, but like I was trying to do spreadsheet stuff, and it was like I'd look at it and not really see it, and then my eyes would hurt. I was like, I gotta go lay down again. So hopefully you can get these things written and you bounce.
Yeah, I got a 4 p.m. telehealth. Ironically, the telehealth was supposed to get Ambien for my fucking Italy trip. Now it's going to be to get Paxlovid. Really pivoted on that one, Doc.
While you're in there.
At least I got the appointment, and I'll need the Ambien eventually. So upside, Pearl Jam still fucking rocks. Although I feel guilty about being out in public because I have anxieties about that kind of stuff. I did what I could do. I wore my mask in the stadium. I didn't take it off. And Pearl Jam fucking ruled. The one in Phoenix, I sat behind the stage, which was a really unique perspective that I really, really enjoyed. That was very, very cool.
So you could watch the drummer.
You get a better view of the drummer and Boom, the keyboard player, and just you look out at you see what the band sees. You see what it's like to be on the stage, playing to this big crowd. It's pretty cool. Really enjoyed it.
It's like you're backstage, but they're like, oh, the only chair we have left is this high chair.
Yeah, it's like you're backstage on a lifeguard chair. Basically.
You're just whistling, hey, no running.
You go up there. I really like, to me, like, because I've been to 63 Pearl Jam shows now. It's a good, any band do you like, especially a band that is like known for putting on a good live show. It's a good excuse to go to a city. I went to Amsterdam to see Pearl Jam. I went across Canada to see Pearl Jam. And while I was in those other places, you experience the place a little bit. I hate Phoenix. Phoenix sucks. Phoenix is a miserable place. I've met some nice people that are from Phoenix, and I'm not talking about the people, just the city. Me and Marco had such a hard time finding food because Phoenix is big. It's really spread out. It's like 34 something miles across, and most of the quote good things in Phoenix are on the northeast corner of Phoenix, right? Like by Scottsdale. And even Scottsdale's not great, but like the northeast side of Phoenix, right? The stadium is the southwest side of Phoenix. And so we're driving an electric car, unnecessary miles back and forth is something you kind of have to consider a little bit. And and we didn't have a whole lot to do there besides go to the show. So we got a hotel kind of in the area sort of by the stadium. And man, it's just there's no character to it at all. Like there's nothing that's like local. There's nothing where it was like, oh, this place is the best at tacos or anything. It was just chain after fucking shitty chain fast food, garbage, strip malls, just over and over. It was a sucky place to be. And here's where I show that I am garbage because I've got the roll of toilet paper. Blow my nose with the roll of TP.
That's efficient.
Yeah, it is efficient. And I'm going to move my tea because my microphone wire just knocked into it.
I think the toilet paper roll is the belt-fed machine gun for snot. The Kleenex is like, that's your bolt action rifle. Like, no,
right.
Let's not do that anymore.
It's great, but when you've got the stubble, it really is like it's like a paper shredder. True. for the toilet paper. The Kleenex, it really holds up to the mustache a little bit, but not the toilet paper. That
should be the commercial for like tactical man's Kleenex.
Yeah, right. They should, what they really should do would be fucking easy and smart is just sell tissues on a fucking roll, bro. Like I'd buy a rack of that, of tissues on a roll.
Let's just do that. Let's partner with Manscaped.
Yeah, like not the toilet paper that's designed to come apart in water, like the tissues that are designed to hold together, but just on a roll.
I'm with it. What's the difference between toilet paper and Bounty paper towels?
The size of the roll. That's really it. One is this and one is this. But anyway, what does the audience really care about? They care about my 800 miles in the EV, probably, maybe, because it was a Lucid, right? I got a Lucid Air, which because I have COVID, I get to keep for another week. They don't want to come get it. They were like, no, because they're supposed to come get it today. And they're like, nah, you guys, I was very apologetic that I was like, I'm sorry, but this car is a fucking biohazard. I don't know what you want me to do, but like whatever you guys want. They're like, just just hold on to it, forever.
Air it out for a while.
Yeah. So I have the long-term Lucid. I'm pretty sure it's the same car we drove in the rain. It's a really early built car, and we could probably go back to the B-roll and see, because they're numbered on the door sill. It's number 105.
Okay.
They call it the Golden Goose. That's because it's gold.
Yeah.
So it's a really early car. I did have a few little software hiccups with it that what happened here?
I'm going to share.
Oh, you're sharing. Okay, thanks. Sorry, I just got my bad. It's probably that car that you're looking at in these photos. So there was a couple little software issues that I have been told have either been updated or in the plans for update for production cars. So I don't want to be harsh about those things, because I don't think that is representative of what the customers are getting. And with the car this new, I think, and because they were very receptive to these criticisms, I think giving them the benefit of the doubt in that. And I'm talking about stuff like it took a couple tries to hit one of the touch buttons, not quite as responsive, just little bits of like it took the computers 20 seconds to fire up once you turn the car on, rather than like instantly. The expected is like 2 seconds, so they were certainly receptive to criticisms, but they said that a lot of this stuff has been addressed already, and there will be a formal press launch with production level cars. And soon, at which point we can try that. So mainly the point of this drive was an unsupervised long range, live with it for a week kind of thing and go on a road trip. That was the point of it. And also to give them feedback. They say, I drove the Performance. It's the fast one. I wanted the GT, the range one. They didn't have one of those for me. They gave me the Performance, which still has a really big battery and is still quite efficient in terms of the miles per kilowatt hour. It's slightly more efficient than a Model S in that regard.
And the range is like 471 or 470 compared
right.
to...
Yeah, that's their claimed range on the website is 470. The GT has a little less power, and they say the range is 516. It's 380 door to door to go from here to Phoenix.
Okay.
Right, where we were going. So, but in order to get that big range, and this is the same for any car, whether it's the Mach-E or the Model S or whatever, or the Taycan. With the Taycan, I blew right past the 300-mile range, but I did it by setting the cruise at 73. That was it, 73. The problem with road tripping, especially road tripping out of Los Angeles, is if you're leaving Los Angeles, and anyone who's been here can tell you this, and you're going to Vegas, or you're going to San Francisco, or you're going to Phoenix, or whatever, the distances in between those cities, the drives, in between those cities, the average speed, 73, you're like almost holding up traffic at that speed. We're talking about wide open, across the desert, long visibility driving. And in a Audi S8 or in a Panamera or in a Mercedes, you're going 90, 100 miles an hour. You're going fast. All the cars are going fast out there. It's only the trucks that are going that slow, that are going 70 or under 75. Everything else, the speed at which those trips happen is over 80 and sometimes over 90. So my point is the usefulness of the real world usefulness of a Lucid versus a Taycan in this type of situation is that I was able to go 300 miles at 90 miles an hour on one charge versus having to do it at 73 in a Taycan. And the difference in efficiency between driving an EV at 73 and high 80s or 90 is pretty stark. I mean, if you drive a Taycan at 90, it's going to be substantially less efficient than going 73. My Mach-E, same thing. If I really want to get that 280-mile highway range to get from Vegas to home, I need to go a speed that is really in the 70s. And that sucks. You know, these cars drive really well. They're smooth. They're comfortable at high speed. They're very competent. And you don't want to be stuck doing this low speed, especially in a $100,000+ luxury touring car. So that's what the Lucid did that other EVs I've driven haven't done so well, is this sustained high speed touring that still gives you a pretty substantial range.
Yeah, so I just looked up, you know, trying to figure out the math to move at that speed and how it affects efficiency. And so the power required to drive a vehicle through the air increases with the cube of velocity. So the amount of power you have to exert to go 100 miles per hour is 2.9 times
the
amount of power to go at 70. It's not like 30% more horsepower. You have to use that much more power. So if the Lucid's using 100 horsepower to go 70, now you're using 300. So of course, it's drain the battery or gasoline that much.
Right. And the Lucid is very aerodynamic. It has a very low rolling resistance. It also has a huge battery and a ton of power. And so if you really are going to be road tripping, this is a much more legit option than a Taycan Turbo. And you know, it's not going to handle on a track like a Taycan Turbo. It's not going to handle in the canyons like a Taycan Turbo, although we discovered in our video that it was more than competent if you find yourself on a windy road.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is it eats miles. It just eats miles. It's really comfortable. The massage seats are going, you know, the radar cruise is very good. Although the lane centering sucked. It was very ping pongy. I wouldn't use that again. It's, you know, if you have 4 people, the back seat has tons of space. The trunk has tons of space. The stereo is pretty good. It's not mind blowing, but it's pretty good. And the fact that the speakers are on the pillars and not in the doors give you much bigger door pockets for storage of stuff. It's got the dual wireless phone chargers, which are good. There's you know, and I was able to use a 350 charger. One of them worked on the way back. I don't want to spend too much of this show ranting about the fucking chargers, but as Marco would tell you, Marco was like, man, after just the second charge attempt, he was like, man, this is fucking stressful. You know, we're at somewhere in the middle of nowhere at a Walmart in, I don't know, Indio. We stopped at a Walmart outside of Indio to charge the first time, and it was just like the 350 charger, you know, which should have fucking blasted this thing full in 15 minutes, was throttled to 75 because it was under maintenance. Now, still worked, still provided DC flow.
Which company was this?
Electrify America.
Okay.
We only used Electrify America for this particular journey. You know, but instead of a 15-minute stop, we had a 50-minute stop. And then we got to Quartzsite, which is on the Arizona border. Topped it off a few minutes with a 150. We didn't need necessarily to do this, but I wanted to get to Phoenix with plenty of charge to drive around. And I wanted to relax after the drive. I didn't want to go find another charger. We had to stop to pee, get waters, whatever. So I got on the 150 charger, which worked, except the app didn't work. So I had to use a credit card. So that worked.
Did the app work at the first?
App worked at the first one,
so
but the speed was throttled, and there was no notification on the app that, hey, what you think is a 350 is today running at 75.
Right. You just noticed it's going up a lot slower than it should be.
Well, it shows it there. No, there was a message on the screen saying this station is undergoing maintenance.
Oh, okay.
And charge speeds are running at, a third or whatever it was, a quarter. Then, then it was like we got to Arizona and we're gonna come back and the charger at Walmart again. One of the only available charger. There's 4 of them. 3 of them are occupied. The only available one is frozen on the initializing charge screen. I call Electrify America, and they say, "I'm sorry, this charger is frozen, and we're unable to remotely fix it." So I had to sit there for 20 minutes and wait for one of the other chargers to free up. And this was a 350, and the first one to free up was a 150. So now, after wasting 20 minutes and having a charger not be available, the one that was available was slower than the one I wanted. Finally, on the way back, I made it from an 80% charge at that Walmart to the Morongo Casino Hotel, which has a at the outlet malls there's a charger, 350. I made it to that one with 8 miles left on the charger.
That's nerve-wracking.
At 15, they turned the air conditioning off.
I was gonna say, what was the temp outside?
It was hot. It was hot.
That's the desert, man. Like it
was hot. It was like 90. It was like 90.
Oh.
And they turned and so, but the math said I should have been there with like a 40 or 50 mile cushion. But again, the headwind, I was into the headwind. And so talking about the force required at these speeds, the wheels were going 80, but the headwind was saying, the power in the headwind was 100.
Right.
So I was just going through it and we got there, but the chargers were like really hard to find. To get to the chargers in the Morongo, you had to go into the entrance that says delivery service vehicles only.
Oh, that makes sense.
There's no sign at all.
Of course.
So like this one actually worked. We plugged into a 350. We didn't get 350, but we got 280, which was more than enough for us to go get a slice of pizza at the shit pile Sbarro, and Marco wanted a Le Creuset teapot. So got that. But in that case, finding the charger was hard.
Yeah.
So there was always something.
Vegas, where some of the casinos in Vegas are like half a mile or a mile long, and if you go in the wrong entrance, and it's like, no, you have to go around again. You're like, well, that's 3 miles. So I'm going to have 4 miles at the end of this trip to hopefully get into the correct driveway. I mean, that is really tight.
Exactly. We're driving through the parking garage, and the thing's going from 8 to 7, and I'm going, oh boy, so
I ran my car extremely low yesterday, and when I got in it, like, it's like 8 miles to gas. I'm like, I'm a quarter of a mile from the gas station, but I go down to the stop sign and I start to turn right, and it's like 7. Yeah. And I get in traffic and it's like 6. I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Adjusting for your behavior.
Just because I'm idling.
Yeah. So, finally I was able to get a full charge and get home. And look, and this is, I'm like a broken record with this stuff, but these were all customer service issues. Things they could have let me know ahead of time through the app. Things they could have known about, How do you not know one of your chargers is down and maybe say it's fucking down on the app? Like how do you have a charger that's somewhere that's hard to find and not intuitive, and you don't put a fucking sign? It's not about the technology of getting electricity into your car. It's about basic customer service shit. And we're not talking about a Nissan Leaf. This is a $175,000 car. And people who buy these things are going to have these same kind of experiences when they try to drive them. And the government's trying to force this stuff on us. I'm not anti-EV. I think they're cool. I continue to do this shit, not because I don't think it's cool. I do think it's cool. And driving an electric car on a long road trip is, in general, relaxing and refined. And this thing is, I mean, you should see how this thing pulls from 60 to 130. It fucking rips. I mean, it's so fast. Every entrance ramp on this thing might as well be Englishtown. I'm dropping the fucking hammer. The front tires are scrambling from grip. I mean, I'm running 9-second quarter miles every 20 minutes in this thing. It's a riot.
Amazing.
But the
like they need to hire the person that, whoever programmed the Amazon delivery stuff where it's like, hey, your package is like a little late. It'll be there at this time instead. Like they're very good at the communication. And that's like if you order a toothbrush.
Yeah.
But they need to hire that person so that if you punch in the nav, like, hey, I'm going to this charger, they go, okay, just so you know, XYZ, or everything's fine, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and the lady on the phone when the charger was dead and couldn't be reset, I go, how do you not know this is dead? How did you not know when I called you and gave the number? How did you not know? Oh, that's dead. She goes, well, no one's called and complained about it. And I go, if you don't know it's dead, you've got a big fucking problem. If you're waiting for someone to call you and complain about this kind of shit, you got a problem. Either you need to write a program that pings these things,
of course,
or you need to have a human. I mean, how long does it take to, there's only like a couple thousand of these things across America. You could have a person whose job it is to ping these fucking things every day. I don't
understand. Well, when you call, are they able to like type something in and then look at that charger and go, oh yes, this is having a
that process took 5 or 6 minutes for them to figure out from my phone call, here's the thing I'm at, for her to be like, this problem can't be fixed by me. That was a 5 or 6 minute process. She didn't automatically know that this one was just down.
It seems, I would assume that they have some sort of digital connection to each one of these things and they can make it automated, because when I had the hydrogen issues, when I would call their customer service, which is a whole different story, they could look at the amount of hydrogen at that pump or the pump, and they could reset things. Like they can clearly connect to it. So why can't
they can. No, they can. They have. I've been sitting there for other reasons and they've reset the thing.
Right. So why isn't it automatically connected to like, so it's all talking to itself. It's
I don't.
Unless they're worried about like like if you pull up your app and, you have 40 charging stations in your area and it's like 29 of them have errors, and that's what goes on, the drive and everywhere else, they might be trying to hide the problems they have. I don't know.
That would be very shitty. That would be like hanging air fresheners in a restaurant instead of getting rid of all the dead rats.
Yeah, but that's what companies do. They protect themselves. So I will say I'm very glad that we are alive now and not when they were developing and having teething problems with air travel, because then planes would just like fall out of the sky.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a little better, but it's definitely
it's very frustrating. And also, every charger we went to, with the of the 4 chargers we went to, 3 of them were at places I didn't really want to be. 2 were at a Walmart, and 1 was at a Love's travel stop in Quartzsite. If I owned a decent restaurant, I would make it a priority to get some of these chargers on my property. I would have happily sat down at any kind of decent restaurant. It doesn't need to be I'm not talking 5-star, but I'm talking like not a gas station and not a Walmart. If I owned a casino, I would make it my priority in 2 seconds to do this. And the one at the Morongo was at the outlet mall. It wasn't at the casino side of it. You'd probably have to walk about a mile to the casino, but the outlet mall, actually, I've stopped at multiple outlet malls to charge. And in Vegas, you and I stopped at the Caesars Palace Mall to charge. Malls are actually a good place to have them.
Yeah, I think if it's at a place where it's providing options for the people, like when I had the Tesla Model 3, I stopped at like an area that had like 6 different restaurants. They weren't nice, didn't matter, but I had choice, because I think if you had a single restaurant, then if those people park there and they don't want to eat there, well, now they're occupying some of your real estate. But if you just have options for people, but look, Quartzsite is like what, this big. It's like
I get it. And it was better that it was there than it was not there at all. But like, it was much nicer to stop at a outlet mall than it was to stop at a gas station.
Of course.
And yeah, Walmart's are depressing places to stop. But anyway, the whole point of what I really learned on this drive about this car was that the real usefulness of this big battery, efficient, big range is not because, I mean, who the fuck is really going to go 450 miles without stopping anyway? Your back would hurt you. We couldn't feel your feet, you know, like even, you know, truckers don't even do that. It's not so much about this long range. It's that you can do 250 to 300, which is kind of the limit of what I can physically handle as a human, and even a very comfortable car at 90 miles an hour. That's really the practical, useful takeaway of this thing. That, and people went batshit for the Lucid. When we parked it at the Pearl Jam lot, the security guards went batshit. I mean, I had these belted up fucking black dudes in the vests and the fingerless gloves. This dude knew who Peter Rawlinson was. He had stock. He'd never seen one. I let this guy sit in it. I let him fuck with the massage seats. He was losing his mind. I mean, the people in Arizona really knew a lot about it. It was the first one that most people had seen. So I got grimaces from people in Teslas who realized there might be something newer and more stylish in right. This arena.
Yeah, you're the second wife.
Yeah.
You're driving the second wife.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially at night, because it's got really cool exterior lighting treatment. It's got the bar across the front and the big LED light up across the back.
Now the people that commented on it or wanted to talk to you about it, did they seem like car people, or were they more just they're paying attention to the EV space?
More EV people than car people. It was people who were driving Teslas, people who were driving other electric cars or Priuses. I didn't have anyone in a Camaro come up to me and ask about it. But there were a lot of people just as we're driving around that were just, you know, you could see them point and do, you know, they did this, they would do the point and the point and turn as you would drive by. They pointed out to whoever, you know, they were with.
I mean, it stands out like nothing else on the road today looks like it.
Yeah. I really did enjoy it. And you know, the seats and the steering wheel and all that kind of stuff for long drives are like so comfortable. Really, 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 the massage seats are so great. The shape of the steering wheel, it's really thick. And then it's got the flat bottom part has this sort of like a shelf on it where you can really just rest your hand on the bottom of it, which is really nice. And it's, you know, it's really, really fast. So overall, I've really enjoyed it. And the stuff that I didn't enjoy, I mean, I made some notes, and I don't necessarily want to talk about it because let me see if there's something in here a note that I have that is worth.
Well, I have a question. So this has a flat bottom wheel. How do you feel about flat bottom wheels when they're in things like GTIs, Audis? You know, they've kind of put them in everything.
I didn't like them that much, and I still don't really like them. I would take a round wheel but you see how in the photo it gets thicker at the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a nice shelf to just rest your hand on for a long range cruise. In a car where you're really doing hand over hand and handling like that, I would just round is just a circle. We haven't gotten past a circle being the best option, but I mean, we've really moved the bar deep into stupid between the squeal, the square wheel, first Aston and then Corvette with the squeal. Aston did it first.
Yep.
And it was not good. And then Corvette made it worse with the square wheel with this sort of two-spoke awful thing. And now you've got the yoke, which is just a comedic level disaster.
If you're in a DP1 car, then okay. But if otherwise, it's a bell curve, right? It's like You have race cars here, and they can be flat or square, whatever, because you're not doing hand over hand. Then in the middle,
Right.
everything should be a circle. But then on the other side, you have things like the Lucid, where it's aimed at luxury and mostly driving fairly straight. And it's like, no, you need a place to relax. It's like the thumb
Right.
grooves for Rolls Royce.
Right. It is more like that. So my comments, which I wrote a very long email to the Lucid guys this morning. So something that they're not going to change for production. I really don't like that they've gotten rid of the stop start button. I understand why we went from a physical key to a stop start button, gotten used to the stop start button, but now they want the car to know when I want it to stop or start. But the fucking fact is it doesn't. And until it reads my mind, it just doesn't. It doesn't know when I want to get out of the car, but leave it on. It doesn't know when I want to stay in the car, but turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't know. So like if I'm playing a podcast, right? I put the car in park, I get out of it. The car stays on until I get far enough away that the proximity sensor determines that I'm leaving now. And then it locks the car and shuts it off. Okay. But it keeps playing the podcast for like 30 or 45 seconds. So now I get back in the car and the podcast is somewhere and they're talking about something different. And I now have to rewind.
You hit the lock button manually when you get out and walk away. Does it then turn everything else off? Because I had the same problem with the BMWs, and I know if I hit lock, it stops it, but it is annoying because like if you park at your house and you're like, I got to get something, or you don't need to lock the car because you're at home or you're at WCCS,
right?
It keeps playing whatever's going on in there.
Yes, you can work around it by quickly locking the car.
Or by hitting an off button.
It's not as good as hitting a fucking off button. I mean, it really just isn't as good.
Yeah.
So that was really annoying. I mean, really, that to me, I just and that's not a pre-pro issue. That's like they designed this like this, probably because Tesla did it. And I don't like it in fucking Teslas either. I genuinely don't like it in Teslas. Rivian has an on-off button, which I think is a smart idea. And so that I found to be very, very frustrating. And the other thing that I thought was really annoying that is not that is a design that is intentional and not a pre-pro thing is the port cover, the charge port cover is powered and on a timer. So if you open it and don't plug anything in like 30 seconds, it closes. Which if you're on the phone with customer service, having trouble with a charger, having this thing repeatedly close itself is very annoying.
What is the method for opening it again? Do you have to go inside the car?
It's inside the car. You have to press a button on the left side of the speedometer where the headlight switches and window switches are. There's also a charge port button there too, but you have to keep going inside the car for it.
Yeah, that's why like the Taycan had the motorized one, which I thought was silly and something that will eventually break, but they had that touchpad on the outside of the car, like the little swipe thing.
Yeah.
So at least it's right there.
So I don't know why we need a power port cover. That seems to me to be needlessly complex. I've driven very expensive cars that have regular old gas flap covers, and I've never been like, for a $500,000, I need this gas flap cover to open powered. I bet
if you ran a survey of Lucid owners or other people, and you said, how many of you show this to your friends and go check this out, the percentage would be very high because it is a cool party trick.
Could be. It could be. Yeah, it could be. But especially because I found myself trying a charger, not working, moving to a different charger, being on the customer service, plug it, unplug it, to be in the middle of that conversation and now have to reopen the charge port, I found very fucking annoying.
It is very silly, but I'll let you blow your nose. And I don't want to take a big tangent, but speaking of silly mechanized things, the Range Rover review went up today. So people are listening, please watch that. In the back seat, if you get the executive package, it's a fifth seat. You fold it down as an armrest, but to get the cup holder, you have to activate a touchscreen, and then a motor moves this whole shelf. It takes like 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And the cup holder appears. And that's something that you could do manually, just slides out. But because they want people to be wowed, that's why they have that.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that to be very silly.
Very silly. I looked down and I was like, where's the cup holder in this thing? I can't believe there's no cup holder. And I found it and I hit it and it went near. I mean, I filmed it. It takes a while. And I was sitting there just holding a coffee. I needed a place to put my things.
Yeah. So because the nice people at Lucid don't want my plague, they're leaving the car with me until next week. So I'm hoping that I will be well enough to go film it. I'm sure I will. I mean, look, I woke up this morning and after 2 days of like crippling anxiety, being like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I woke up this morning and looked at the ceiling and I was like, oh yeah, it's here now. And I tested positive immediately. And so at least I feel crappy, but at least the anxiety is over. So right. maybe, I don't know, hopefully in the next couple of days, I'll leave the house and go up on a mountain by myself and not interact with anybody. And my voice will sound crappy, but hopefully I can get the video out of it in which I say all the same things I just said right here. Yeah, I mean, we really need to work on the public charging thing, which speaking of which, I think I said on the podcast a few weeks ago about this black box recorder thing that's on my Mach-E now, where if I press the top of the screen, if something fucks up, it immediately, I record a voice note, Matt Farah, Los Angeles, 12:50 p.m., whatever. And what happened, and it goes to Ford. So tomorrow they're actually installing they're calling a token on my car that will do that without me having to say anything. It's just full on. My car is just going to be full on data recording. So I can't go down and pick up hookers at Skid Row anymore. They're going to know. I can't commit hit and runs anymore. They're going to know. Right. I can't use my vehicle to just like murder poor people anymore. They're going to know. They're going to be followed. Big Brother I have signed up my freedom in order to improve EVs for everybody else.
Well, you're like an R&D engineer at this point. When we've seen those prototypes, they're filled with computers and there's always someone sitting there typing away at things. You're basically doing that.
Yeah.
You're just not on the payroll yet.
So I have to do this process where the car downloads some program and they're going to be tracking me. And so that if stuff fucks up, then other people's Mach-E's will get better. So that's the thing. How was that RS3?
Oh my God.
This thing's rip, huh?
Dude, so for context for people, I did a one take. This gentleman loaned me his 2019 RS3 that has very simple bolt-ons. I mean, it's got a bigger turbo and then the breathing stuff.
Yeah.
Still has cats and it's got a tune, makes it only, and I do mean this honestly, it only makes about 700 horsepower to the tires. Torque is limited to like 500. And yet on drag tires, he's ran low nines. And on the tires that I was on, which were like basic sport tires with 18s that he was able to fit over the brakes, it ran a 10-1 at I saw the time slip. It is alarming and amazing how accessible that power is. It was cold when I drove it. So when I did a launch, which is as simple as it could ever be, it just did a 4-wheel burnout, which was, I haven't experienced that since I think we drove riding with you in a 1,000 horsepower GTR, driving in the snow. So, and this car, unassuming, black, really tasteful mods. And then it's running the same quarter mile time as it's beating turbo S's. It's chasing 720 S's. On the good tires, it's with Veyrons and everything else. That's just crazy. And it would be an incredible bargain because when he bought it with most of the mods on it from a friend of his, and it was like $52,000 with a few miles. Today, with car pricing, there are 2 dealerships, he said, selling RS3s used in the area, 40 to 50,000 miles on them. They're asking 65 grand, which is 2,000 more than MSRP on this thing.
Yeah, that's not good.
It is not good. But I kind of just forgot how good and special inline 5 cylinders sound.
Yeah, they're cool.
They're really cool. And the car, holds up to his abuse. And the guys that, what's the company? The company's like IROC Z.
Not IROC Z,
IROZ. So they have you filmed their cars before?
No, but I know who they are. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen them on Hoonigan's channel, and they've got their crazy 7-second car that, according to this guy, is running the stock gearbox. Like that gearbox,
yeah,
it can only handle so much torque, but it's very reliable for drag racing and can handle a fuck ton of power.
Yeah.
Man, it's just such a nice little package of a car. And if you don't need,
was it super loud?
Yeah, when sport mode was engaged, it shook the canyon. I mean, it sounds like a Lamborghini running through the canyons. Inside, I actually thought, I was like, oh, that sounds kind of nice. And then when he drove by, I went, oh, that's the amount of noise I'm making. Holy crap.
Yeah, when I drove that one on the Sorted show, we drove it for the regional one, and it was 900 horsepower, and it was so loud. It didn't sound very good. And then I told the guy, I was like, look, you could make this quieter and lose no performance at all. And when he came back for the final, he had made it quieter, lost no performance, and it was only very loud, very little bit louder than stock. And he still was 900 horsepower. I mean, no difference at all. It sounded great. And they're really, really fast, those cars.
Really fast. He still had the stock muffler on there, so it was still had the electronic valves and everything. It just had down pipes and a mid pipe. So we need like a educational campaign in America of like teaching people that cats are okay and noise is not always equal power.
Yeah, they have a RSQ3 in Europe. The same with the 5-cylinder and the dual clutch in the crossover. That thing.
I don't think I'd want to sit higher off the ground and go that fast. But man, like what a potent, nice little package those things are.
Well, I'm driving the new RS3 at Spring Mountain on the 23rd. Hopefully this doesn't last 2 weeks. That would be a fucking disaster.
It won't.
But that's the next thing I'm supposed to do now that I'm not going to Italy to drive Paganis. It seems like I knew that RS3 was going to be a lot of fun.
I know we talk about it a lot, like the accessibility of power and speed. It's just never been better. It's never been more attainable than than right now. It is bananas.
That's a good segue into the Model T story I'm writing right now. I drove a pair of Model Ts, 108-year-old Model Ts. I drove the Super T, which is excuse me, which is like somewhere between a pre-runner and rock crawler Model T with 12 gears and all this durability stuff. And then I drove the Model T race car, which was under 900 pounds. It was 50 horsepower, which is 2.5 times what the car made stock, on little skinny fucking bicycle tires. Super sketchy. I can probably I have an iPhone photo.
Yeah, I want to see it. We did talk about this a little bit on the last show. I will say that.
Oh, we did?
We did.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I told you my brain doesn't fucking work right now.
No, I know. That's why I'm
turn on my screen sharing, yo. Turn on my screen sharing.
Oh, it should be, let's see.
You fucked it up, man.
There you go. All participants. All participants.
So it's that. So
wow.
the Super T doesn't from far away, it doesn't look like so much. I mean, it looks like a Model T, right? When you start getting closer, you start to see the slightly fatter tires, the wire wheels instead of the wood wheels. I'm nervous about going back.
Is the Super T the off-road one or the one in the front with the golden radiator?
No, the one in the front. The one in the front
that's the race car.
It's the race car. Hang on, I'm going to go back to this. I didn't want to go to my full-on library and have you. So here's the Super T showing some articulation. It's got high compression head. It's got 12 gears. It's got steel wire wheels, outboard brakes, fatter tires. It's got like a heavily reinforced cooling system. It's got a bunch of trick stuff, but at first glance, it really only kind of looks very slightly different from a regular Model T. The race car is much, much different. It has basically no body work. It has no
longer.
It's not longer, but the powertrain has been moved 6 inches further back.
Wow.
So rather than normally you would sit kind of where the dashboard is and the engine would be out by the front wheels. Now the engine is entirely not just behind the front axle, but behind the front tire. It's behind the back of the front tire. And you're sitting basically on the rear axle.
It's like mid-front, mid-engine.
Right. So everything is between the axles now on this. So main difference is the Speedster has an actual gas pedal. So you can actually drive it much more like a regular car, whereas the other one is more like a tractor.
It also, they kind of brought aerodynamics into this. It's got that V-shaped, aero golden radiator.
So the V-shape, it has a name. Hang on. The V-shaped radiator is called a wind splitter radiator.
There you go. Which
makes sense. And it is actually, it's not just a pointy cone that goes on a flat radiator. It's those are radiators. So it's a double sized radiator that's shaped like a V. And what's cool about this stuff is that all of the parts that go on both cars were available just out of catalogs in period at the time. So each of these cars could have been built at home by an average, mechanic, using just stuff you could get from a catalog.
So cool.
So it really is
right next to the ads for pheromones and stuff. They're
right.
Snake oil.
It's really the invention of the aftermarket,
Yeah. Yeah, because what was the aftermarket for horses? Different saddles. That was it.
Yeah. But I mean the fucking Speedster, it goes like 80. It goes fast.
Dude, that is very fast to be going that fast and basically sitting on like an individual park bench. You have a bucket park bench.
And there's actually a couple of parts that these two vehicles have in common. They use the same 3-speed gearbox. They use the same outboard disc brakes, which is kind of interesting. They have the same like baffled aluminum oil pan for cooling. So there's actually a couple of similar, not even similar, a couple of identical parts on these things. It's pretty cool.
Really cool. The Speedster one is beautiful. It's kind of beautiful. It looks so different from the other ones. So incredibly different, like a big step forward.
Yeah, and I mean, with 100 years of separation, there's not, obviously in period it makes a difference, but there's not a lot of difference to us between this thing, which is a $250 car modified with a few $100 more parts, and a $2,000 Mercer or Hispano Suiza. I mean, there might be more brass, a little fancier body work, and an engine that makes 50 horsepower from the factory instead of 50 horsepower from the aftermarket. But I don't know, it looks like a brass era race car to me.
It's absolutely agree.
And this was the kind of stuff that people would build. Well, the Speedster is the kind of stuff you'd build. I mean, my analogy is like you can work your way down to a twin turbo Lamborghini Huracan or C8 Corvette will do a runway race, or a lap of Daytona at the same speed as a Chiron will, and it'll be $300,000 for the build, for a used Huracan and a build, and then versus $4 million for a Chiron. Now those are a lot of zeros at the end of that, but the scale is the same. This a Model T in today's money is $7,500. It was, it was $250 back then. And it was a tenth, somewhere between a tenth and a 15th of the cost of a Mercer or a Hispano Suiza or a Bugatti at the time. So
Wow.
Very interesting to see that part of our history and to get to mob, in a OG tuner car.
Yeah, and that was back. I mean, and this happened for a while, for many decades, where the race cars were more close to the civilian cars. That was decades and decades until the technology and everything else and money went into racing at a higher level, and there was just more separation. You end up with these prototypes and carbon fiber and really advanced technology. But for a long time,
you could buy a race car and drive on the street.
Yeah,
for a long time. Yeah,
I think it was Brian Redmond? Someone they bought a 250 GTO and then drove it down to Daytona and raced it in Daytona.
Yeah,
that's what they were racing. So if you could build something for a little bit less money that made similar power, you could get in there with the big boys.
Yeah.
That's cool. What an experience.
So what do you got from the people?
We got a lot of questions from the people. We'll work through them. Have you seen Better Call Saul? Because I have not.
I have.
Okay.
I'm caught up.
Prashan asked, who has the best car in Better Call Saul?
The best car? Are there good cars in Better Call Saul? There's not.
No, I think they were well chosen, which there's been a lot of articles about that with the Pontiac Aztec and what's the main drug dealer's name? The guy that ran the chicken place and he had a silver.
He has a Volvo. Gus Fring has a Volvo 850 wagon, or might be a V70, but I think it was an 850. The best car. Nobody has that good of a car. There's a couple Cholo, lowriders that are okay. Lalo's Homie has a super Cholo, Monte Carlo or something that's all right, I guess. But Saul doesn't. I guess Kim drives an A8 at one point when she works for the law firm. Before she quits the law firm, her company car was an A8. So I guess that's probably the nicest car. If you want to go into the Breaking Bad, Walter got a 300 Hemi, a 300 SRT. That was probably the coolest car in the whole series. But there's not a lot of very good cars in Better Call. There's well-chosen cars, but not good cars.
I think they are so well chosen. It's very impressive.
Yeah. Well, the attention to detail on that show is very good.
Yeah. All right. Nate Lincoln, he has a 2017 M240i. Nate, I know this is your friend's question, but I'm phrasing it like this for simplicity. He has a 2017 M240i and he's bored and needs more space. He's interested in 2011 and 12 E63 AMGs with some mileage, 75 to 100 grand on mileage, but they have a head bolt issue. He has relatively tight budget, but he's handy with DIY stuff. Good idea or horrid idea?
There's handy, and then there's taking the heads off an E63 handy.
Right.
I don't really recommend that. If you really want an AMG car of that era, the 55s are cheap, and they don't have that issue. They are really, really tough. And a guy I know from Cars and Coffee just bought 150,000 mile E55 for $7,000.
Wow. And they still look great. They sound great.
They look the same. They look the same. Unless that head bolt thing has been done, he's talking about this it's going to be a daily. If you have that head bolt thing, you're trying to fix that yourself, that car could be down for a couple of weeks. But I say that in the passive sense, someone's going to be working on it, you're working on it.
Right.
Remember that thread of the guy who bought there was some build thread of a guy who bought, it might have even been on Jalopnik or something, of a guy who bought an R63, I think, the Mercedes minivan, and did the head bolt thing himself. And it looked like a fucking project. It was. Yeah. So
you're deep in the engine. You also need the parts. What's the part supply right now? Might be slow. Yeah. There's a lot of waiting that's going to happen. It's not going to be easy. So go with the simpler AMG that basically gives you the same fizz. Fridolin Cock asks, he's a watch question. He inherited an old IWC watch from his granddad. It's a 1968 Aqua Timer. It says 812 AD.
Yeah.
Google. Pretty heavily used. Do I give it to any IWC shop for restoration, or does it have to go to IWC Switzerland?
Well, I wouldn't take it to an IWC store or send it to Switzerland. I would take it to an independent watchmaker, someone in your city that has a good reputation for servicing vintage watches. And I would service the mechanics of the watch and leave the cosmetic condition where it is at. The wear and tear on the outside of the watch is part of the story of that watch. And I think there's value in keeping it looking like that as much as possible. It's a beautiful watch. I would be very careful about wearing it in the water, even though that technically is a dive watch. But it's a beautiful watch, and nothing wrong with it looking worn. But I would want to have a mechanical restoration done on it. And if you send it back to IWC, they might replace parts with new parts. And you don't necessarily want that. So I would find an independent in whatever city you're in that can help service that thing, probably for less money than IWC would charge anyway. Yeah,
it's cool to have it scarred up a little bit.
Yeah,
that's your grandfather's memories there.
Yeah. Vintage watches, a lot of the value is in the surviving the wear and tear kind of thing. Unless it's like your grandfather bought it and never wore it and it's mint condition and new in the box, like that's a different story. But it seems like there's a lot of memories attached to that one.
Jordan Hodis asked, would you take a 911 Turbo S or a McLaren 720S as your do everything, set a lap time, and cruise around town car?
I mean, the words do everything to me says Porsche.
Yeah, I hate to say it because the McLaren is more interesting. But
yeah,
if you truly want to do everything. Yeah. Miguel Flores, he finds it hard to appreciate older cars. We just had our cool April Nights month-long car show in Redding, California, and it's nothing but the same old run of the mill big block hot rods. It's getting really boring. How can I enjoy this? Or is it okay for me to just be over it? I mean, first off, a month-long car show.
That sounds boring.
3 weeks too long. Like I used to go to Hot Rods Nights, and it was a week, and that was a lot of hot rods. But like,
yeah,
I mean, after a month, chocolate.
Yeah,
a month.
Yeah, I mean, a month of hot rods to me sounds very boring. So, I think either you want to be the guy who tries to bring in some variety, get Radwood to come down there, try to do a different vibe, and Japanese car section or European car section or something to try and be the person who makes the variety. But like, yeah, it's okay to be over something. Nothing wrong with that. You don't need my approval or Zach's approval to be over something. You can like what you like and not like what you not like. I used to fucking love like Mustangs. Now I don't really care that much. It's like, okay, it's fine. You're allowed.
And sometimes you just need a break. I mean, like literally a month of car shows, or even if you drove Mustangs for years, you need a break, and then you'll go back and go, you know what? I forgot why I like these. You need a reset. Palate cleanser. Oliver Green asked, would any of the WCCS clients allow you to do profiles on the very cool cars that are there?
I mean, maybe, but it's my responsibility as a shop owner to not ask.
That's not why they have their cars there.
It's not why they have their cars there.
Josh Jones was at the Pearl Jam concert in Phoenix and wants to know, it was his first time at a Pearl Jam show. He's curious if anything stuck out that night compared to all the other shows you've seen. Has anything changed over the last 30 years?
So the kind of like the peak of live Pearl Jam was like 2006 to 2013. They would play like 35 songs, 3.5 hours. Now, the last 3 shows that I saw, there's the 2 in LA and the 1 in Phoenix, they played 25 songs. And they were still great, but the guys are like in their late 50s now. So maybe they are not interested in playing these marathon sets. That's possible. Maybe
would you still be interested in seeing a marathon show as well?
I would. Yeah, I would love to see, because the songs that came out of those long sets are a lot of the deeper cuts that I like. So all three shows that I just went to, Alive, Even Flow, and Porsche, they played at all three shows. The rest of them had very little overlap. They played Corduroy and Better Man at 2 of the 3. They only played Jeremy at 1. But like the stuff that I'm really into were like the deeper cuts that they played at each one. Like the first night they played State of Love and Trust. And this brain fog is really going to fuck me up on this one. But like they played Why Go in Phoenix. Like they played In Hiding. Just the deeper. So I like the deeper cuts. So I kind of, and they're also, they've been playing 3 to 4 songs off their newest album, which they came out with this album in February of 2020 and are just getting to tour on it now. So I understand the pent up desire to play those songs live.
Right.
But I only really like 2 songs on their newest album. Retrograde and Dance of the Clairvoyants are the only 2 songs I like off the new album. So like, I thought the Phoenix show was a great show. Marco, who had never seen them before, was super, super impressed. The sound was great. The energy was great. They had a great mixture of classics, B-sides, and new stuff. It makes me a little sad that they're not doing this 35 song sets anymore. Maybe they will someday. But I understand as a band why there's probably diminishing returns in that. But it was still a great show. And I think it was representative of what these sets have been like for the last 3 or 4 years.
Cool. Wesley Torgerson was there as well. He says, what did you think about Eddie Vedder's Tesla story?
I thought it was very funny.
What was his Tesla story?
He said he was riding his bicycle in San Diego. And he said, first he almost got run off the road by like someone in a car. And then he almost got run off the road by someone in a Tesla. And it was annoying because he couldn't hear the Tesla coming. And then he said, but he pulled up to the fucking Tesla, which was waiting at a light. He heard a really good song playing on the radio and he couldn't quite place it. And after like 30 seconds, he realized it was Pearl Jam. And he said, he goes, oh, and then I realized that's our song. and he sort of tried to wave at the fucking driver who I guess looked at him like he had fucking 3 heads or thought he was going to get pissed for like coming close to him or something.
Wow.
Yeah. And she drove off and he was like, yeah, fuck your Tesla or something like that.
That Tesla driver was so close to the worst thing ever and also his best day.
Yeah, so close. It was pretty funny, actually. Wow. You know what? I will give Eddie Vedder credit. He had I heard between Bert Kreischer and Mark Normand and Sam Morrill and all these other people, Eddie had on the Saturday night show the only good joke I heard about the Dave Chappelle getting attacked on stage. Fucking Mark and Sam and Bert Kreischer all attempted to make jokes about it, and they all bombed. And I love all 3 of those guys, but all their jokes sucked about it. And Eddie was totally right. And Eddie's fucking goes off on some tangents sometimes, but he was like, only in America can you, if you want to hide a knife, do you disguise it as a gun? And that's totally right. He's like, only in this country would you sneak a knife on the stage by disguising it as a gun.
That's a pretty funny observation.
It is.
I'm sure the security also. Well, it was a plastic gun, right? So it didn't show up on metal detector. Did they have metal detectors at the Greek when you were there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They had them at Jimmy Carr also. Definitely after that. What was more fun in the canyons, the rear-wheel drive Taycan or the Audi RS5 Sportback? Taycan for sure.
Taycan. Yeah, rear-wheel drive Taycan was sweet.
The RS5 was not a canyon car. It was kind of disappointing in that, actually. It was a really nice all-around car, but
yeah, it was not that engaging in the canyons. No, the rear-wheel drive Taycan was shockingly good. I don't see any of those. More people should buy them.
I agree. Michael Cosgrove asked, what is it that Matt doesn't like about the Bentley and Breitling collaborations? Some Bentleys actually have Breitling clocks in them, so it seems like a kind of legitimate partnership.
The main thing I don't like about them is that the watches are incredibly tacky and gaudy. And if you just Google Zack Breitling for Bentley, I mean, the pictures that come up are these giant, blingy, 48 millimeter, it's the kind of thing a Russian mobster would wear. And I don't dislike all Breitlings. I certainly don't dislike Bentleys. But that Navitimer is even one of the better ones. I mean, just super fucking tacky. And
there's a lot happening on this dial.
Yeah. There's other car and watch collabs that are much more subtle. I mean, the Porsche design one is obvious, but it results in a very elegant and good looking watch. The Mercedes and IWC Ingenieur collaboration is very nice. But some of them are just heinous, and these Breitling Bentley watches are not good. That's just, sorry if you have one and I don't like it. I'm not gonna like point and laugh at you and make fun of you to your face if you're seeing one, but like I tried to get one. I got one as a loan back in the day as a goof to wear to Barrett Jackson, and I wore it as a goof, and I learned that you can't actually wear a watch ironically. Nobody will either get the joke. They'll just look at you like you're insane, or if they're like a Russian mobster, they'll be like, "How much is this? Can I buy from you right now?"
Yeah, no one knows you're kidding. No,
yeah. I think they're very tacky.
Yeah, the bezel's weird at knurling and
really bizarre. Yeah, that's meant to match the the knobs right on the bed. That knurling, that's like the air conditioning and the HVAC knobs and all the stuff on the Bentley.
In the interior of a Bentley, there is a sea of wood and other things, and that's like an accent. And here, this is like 30% of the watch. It's it's literally the biggest thing on the watch.
Yeah, it's not good.
If the whole Bentley was knurled, that's what it would look like.
That would be cool.
No, but Will.i.am might make it.
That Mercedes he did, it's heinous.
So bad. It's like
everything he touches turns to dog shit.
They're doing. What are your thoughts on I'm going to mispronounce this probably, the Glashütte Panamatic Lunar? Is it worth spending the money on watches that lack the name recognition?
Well, Glashütte, which you got pretty close, Zach, and I'm sure you can find a picture of it. They make very nice watches. And within the right circles, they do have the right name recognition. If you go to one of those like Red Bar or watch meetups, people will absolutely respect this stuff. It is also very similar to the Lange watches, Lange und Söhne, which look very similar and are triple or quadruple or quintuple the price of these watches. I think these things are very cool. I mean, if you wanted to get a dress watch that really looked beautiful and had some cool functions, like this one Zach's showing as a big date and a moon phase, which I really like. They're very cool looking, and they're really well made. They're German. They use really nice materials. There's, if you want to talk about name recognition, obviously there's Rolex, there's Patek and Omega, and then everybody else, right? So it's, if you know watches, you would respect what a Glashütte is. And if I saw somebody wearing one, I would say, oh man, that's pretty fucking cool. But will average Joe Schmo, who only knows what a Rolex Submariner and an Omega Speedmaster is, recognize it? Like, no, probably not.
Right.
But they're nice pieces. They're made very well.
Yeah, I like the way that looks. I've never seen anything like that. Brandon Deuster is doing his first track day in his .2 GT3 RS. He's done PEC and other things, but never a full-blown track day. Any tips or tricks that are good to know? It's going to be a private day with other Porsche people, but no instructors.
Drive within your limits, work your way up. Learn the track, start by driving the track in fourth gear only. Eliminate that from the equation. Don't let your ego get the best of you.
Don't try to chase other people.
And if it's a private day, make sure that the car-to-car communication is very clear. If there's going to be a point buy, where are you allowing point buys? What is the signal for point buys? What am I looking for from another car who wants a point buy? What am I looking for the car in front that I want to overtake? The only on-track accident I've ever had was a miscommunication between myself and another driver. And I thought this driver had moved over to let me buy. But in truth, they didn't even know I was there. So I was in the process of passing, and the guy came right down, and we came into contact. If there was better communication between the two of us, if there was more of okay, I'm going to request a point buy either by flashing or something, and then they're going to put their hand out of the car and tell me which side to pass. So no, clear communication, especially if you're going to be driving a bunch of $200,000 cars.
Yeah, I don't know you'd race against Max Verstappen.
Yeah,
and also if there's someone there that is a professional racing driver, and vetting someone can be hard. There's a difference between someone who has a racing license and really knows how to race. But if there is someone there that's willing to let you ride right seat and you feel safe doing that, you might be able to learn some stuff as well, even though there's no formal instruction.
Yeah.
Carter says, ideally a 2014 F-150 FX4, but I don't need to tow anything anymore. So I need something with better fuel economy, but a similar payload rating of 1,400 to 1,500 pounds. Is the Maverick my best option? I've got a budget of 35 grand, and I'm almost certain most SUVs with that kind of payload rating get heinous gas mileage.
I mean, probably the Maverick gets great. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea offhand what payload ratings are of various trucks. But if the Maverick does it, or a Ridgeline or a Santa Cruz, I mean, probably the Maverick is the most fuel efficient of those. If you can get one,
the hybrid one's like 37 mpg highway.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it has a bigger bed than the Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw Santa Cruz yesterday. It was lovely looking, very cool.
From when I drove the Ridgeline and the Santa Cruz, all the trucks in that class have basically the exact same payload rating. It's like 1,400 to 1,700 pounds. Mm-hmm. You kind of got to decide what bed size do you want, and the Ridgeline feels a little old. The transmission, I think, is still the 6-speed. The Hyundai is like nicer inside than the Ridgeline, but smaller bed, new product. And then the Maverick does seem like everybody's favorite, but the weight is super long on them. There's a price premium on them, and it is a brand new endeavor for Ford. So I don't know what reliability will be if you're going to own this thing for like 5 to 10 years.
Sure.
Whereas the Honda is like, it's a freaking Pilot with the bed cut off.
Right.
All right. Josh Berman, a good friend has a 2020 M2 comp with DCT in less than 12,000 miles. He's seriously looking at the M2 CS. Budget's not a problem. It's a daily LA driver with weekend canyons, maybe a track day now and then. He can get $62,000 for his comp. So is the CS worth an extra 40 grand?
If you can get a CS for sticker and you can get good trade-in for your comp, then yes, because the CS will just hold. I mean, those CSs, they just hold. CS is pretty awesome. I mean, it's expensive, and the indicator is that this person doesn't really care so much about the money. If he's got the money to spend, he can probably, get a lot of value out of it on the back end.
Didn't the CS ride better than I drove the comp?
Yeah.
Yes, but the CS I heard rode better.
CS is better. I mean, $40,000 difference is a big amount of money, and it's tough to necessarily justify that. But if the money doesn't matter, and you can afford to spend it now, if you've done 12,000 miles on a comp and you can get out of it for 62 grand, that's good. Yeah, go up.
The question is, can you get into the next thing at a deal?
Yeah, you have to be able to get the CS at sticker.
Right.
If you're paying over for the CS, then whatever you've made on the comp, it just gets rolled into that.
Yeah. Derek Yegan, inflation and timeline aside, why would you pick a 2023 Nissan Z instead of a brand new BMW 335i or 340 now, assuming you could get a factory fresh, brand new? Oh, this is interesting.
What?
So hypothetically, he's asking if you could get a 2008 335i that's brand new. Why would you?
Does that car exist? Where is that car?
I think he's basically saying, why would we like the Nissan Z more than a 335i? It's a strange question because the 340 exists, which is basically the evolution of the 335i. So,
I mean, look,
I mean, the pricing.
The price of a Z is embargoed, so I can't say what the price is for another 6 days. If I say what the price is and this show comes out tomorrow, I will have broken the embargo on the price.
Understood.
So, but I don't know if what this person is at. I mean, where is this with this 2008 335 with no miles in brand new condition? Where is that car? Does that car exist?
It doesn't exist. I think this is a person, I'm assuming, and I mean, no disrespect, Derek, you probably really like BMW and you're going, well, Nissan didn't just invent this segment of turbocharged rear-wheel drive coupes. We've been doing that for a long time. So why would you choose a Nissan over a BMW? I guess, but I mean, if the M340,
you could also say
$57,000.
Okay,
I'm not asking you to disclose the Nissan price, but I am sure that a decently spec'd up M340 is going to start higher and quickly accelerate away from.
It's also a much bigger car. I mean, you got to understand, the new Z is a 2-seat sports car. It's little. It's not a 4-seat coupe or sedan, right? So I'm not sure the point of the question. You could also buy a Mustang GT or a Camaro SS, both of which have more power than the Z, for similar money to the Z. You could buy 2012 M3, with miles on it. There's a lot of things you could buy instead of the Z, but like we're talking about a brand new car in 2022. To compare that to a 14-year-old BMW doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially because such a car is extremely unlikely to find such a car.
Yeah. And to highlight your point, the M340i is a full foot longer than the Nissan Z.
Z is a little car.
Yeah. They don't look at the proportions of the 370 especially made it look big, but it's actually not a very big.
No, it's a small car. I mean, it's between a Miata and a C7 Corvette. That's the size of the Z, somewhere between those two.
All right. Derek also asked hardcover or paperback. How do you pick? I usually pick based on price. Hardcover is like if I want to own this as a collectible or something.
Yeah, I usually only buy a hardcover if the book is brand new and only available in hardcover. If it's been out for a while, I have no problem with the paperback. But a lot of times when I read about someone I follow on Twitter or something and they've written a book and I pre-order it or something and then it's only available in hardcover. So I'm happy to support the author in that case.
Dan Mosqueda says he was in LA last week and he rented a base Boxster and found it surprisingly fun to drive. Went to Good Vibes. Thank you for highlighting the event. Besides your Spider, would you get an S or the GT or the GTS 4.0, and what separates them?
I would get the 4.0. I would have gotten the GTS 4.0 instead of the Spider if demand could have modified that engine to be what I wanted because of the softer suspension.
Mm-hmm.
But demand, because of there's some Spider specific elements within the engine that demand needs in order to do what he does. He can't do the mods with a GTS engine. He can only do them with a Spider engine. But Yeah, I mean the sound of the 6-cylinder engine is worth getting if you've got the money.
Yeah, without question. And last one, Ivan Capote. Everyone always says that racing is expensive, but it's hard to make a budget when I've never tried racing before. So what are some racing expenses most enthusiasts are not aware of?
Well, I mean, assuming you're going to race your own car, let's talk about that. Let's assume you're racing your own car, because I never raced my own car. I've always done arrive and drive racing, which is still fucking expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I paid for a seat on a team in an endurance race. And what that gets me, we'll talk about that first. What that gets me is, assuming the car works, 2 90-minute stints a day over 2 days. So 3 hours of seat time if the car works. And for that, I've paid $2,000 at the low end and almost $5,000 at the high end. That covers the cost to run the car, the entry fees, the spares, the tires, the parts, the folks who have to show up to fix the car if it breaks, the fuel, food, in which in some cases I've contributed on top. I've cooked for teams and stuff. I then had to rent either a hotel room or in a rental car, or in some cases an RV, which could be $1,000 for the weekend, depending on how you want to roll. I then have to own a Nomex suit, which could be as low as a few hundred, but as much as a couple $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I have a carbon fiber helmet, which is certainly not something you should cheap out on. I think my helmet was like $1,500. That's good for maybe 5 or 6 years worth of racing. A Hans device. You can get a plastic one for like $700, or the carbon fiber one is like $1,200. You got, racing shoes. There's $150. Nomex gloves. There's $120. I'm probably wearing $2,500 on my body to go racing. Then there's getting to the race. Sometimes you gotta, if it's your car, maybe it's a truck and trailer. If it's someone else's car, maybe you're flying somewhere. I've spent several $1,000s to get to a race weekend, only to have the car break 10 minutes into the race. And I've spent all that money to stare at someone wrenching on a car for 2 days.
Yeah.
I didn't get a refund because the car broke. That's just racing.
I mean, I did the cheapest version of Lemons basically last 2 years ago. Someone else had built the car. They put in all the money for that. They were very nice to do that. But I still, like you said, I had to get there. I bought a cheaper helmet, but it was still $450. It was like the best, thing that I could afford. And then when we were there, we had to buy some extra parts we hadn't thought about. We had to buy radio earpieces for everybody. And each of those, like from the race shop, it's a little more expensive, but it's not that much more expensive than online, or like $100 a piece.
Yeah.
If things break, the odds of you having all the parts and tools you need to fix it are, I'd say, low. If you haven't outlaid a lot of money for people that know what they're doing, and the odds of you, and if you have all the shit, well, that means you're paying for all the stuff to be there, which means trailer and all those things. So even if you try to go racing cheaply, which you can do, if there are problems, you're going to be spending money to try to fix them.
Yeah. I did a race once, and they got the car for like $15,000. It was an NC Miata. They had to spend another $15,000 to have someone sort it. And then halfway through the first race, the gearbox went. So fortunately they had a spare. So that was like, $1,200 right there. New gearbox in, then the clutch goes later in the race. There's another $450 plus half the race. They're taking the thing out and putting a clutch in the car. It's really expensive to go racing. Yeah. And, if you want to go on a higher level, like Bert Kreischer just did, he bought a $48,000 race car, a $19,000 trailer, a $2,000 spare set of wheels and tires. And so he's like $80,000 in. We haven't seen a racetrack yet.
Right. And you're not, you're not racing at Le Mans. Like you got it, it's an
No,
race.
it's those same series. It's the same
Right.
series.
Yeah, you're
It's the
racing
same
with
racing
normal
series.
people and some pros and stuff. Like it's a really expensive thing to take.
And then we're assuming that no one crashes the car. I mean, forget breaking a gearbox. You crash the car, now you're spending money. Now you're really spending money.
Yeah. If you can fix it. The cheapest way to go racing is karting. You know, there are places that have carts. You can buy them and keep them there. You can transport them in almost anything. And you can get into a decent one for like a few $1,000s, and the consumables are super, super low.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Racing is expensive. That's good because my brain just decided it doesn't really want to work anymore. All right, that's our show, folks. I'm gonna go lay on the couch. We may or may not have guests next week. Obviously, we're not going to be in studio, so we will do our best to deliver content as best we can, given the fact that I have the plague. Oh well. Bye.